What's up? In this video, I'm going to be giving you 3 techniques that you can use to create more interesting images. So the first technique that I want to talk about is creating silhouettes. I love creating silhouettes because it takes your entire subject, removes all the dimension and detail from them, and it just leaves them as a 2-dimensional figure. This can add a lot of drama and mystery to your image, and also silhouettes are really good for drawing your viewer's attention because of the stark contrast that is required to create a silhouette. You have a very, very bright background and then a dark figure. Even as small children and infants, our brains are drawn to this kind of contrast. So when it comes to creating silhouettes, there are strong silhouettes and there are not so strong silhouettes. So how do we create a strong or a good silhouette? The first thing is, obviously, you need a bright backdrop, and you need that bright backdrop to cast a strong directional light because you want your subject to be completely in the shadow. We don't want light coming from the camera side to fill in the shadows of our subject, or we won't get the silhouette. So my second tip for creating a good silhouette is to create definition. Since we are reducing our subject to a 2-dimensional figure, we no longer have any depth or detail. We rely solely on the outline to distinguish what the subject is and what action they're taking. If you were to take a silhouette shot of my face right now, facing the camera, if it was a silhouette, you wouldn't know if it was a face or perhaps a potato. You just wouldn't know. But if I turn profile, then you have my forehead, my nose, my mouth, and my chin, and you can discern that it's a human face. It's the same if you took a silhouette of me pointing at the camera like this. This would all fall into shadow and you wouldn't actually see my hand or my arm. But if my hand was out like this, you would see my arm and my finger and everything like that. So when it comes to silhouettes, our angle is important, but then also the angle of our subjects. So if we're talking about people, we want profiles of faces. We want separation with the limbs and the extremities when possible. The more detail we can see, like the more space we can create with our subject, the more we can give the viewer a clear picture of what's happening. All right, so the second technique that I want to talk about in this video is going to be using elements in your composition to frame your subject. Now, these can be foreground elements, background elements. Some of these are very obvious, like fence posts or window frames, and some are a little bit more abstract, like out of focus leaves or natural elements in the environment. Regardless of what you use to frame your subject, this is a great way to draw your viewer's attention exactly where you want them to look. My biggest tip for creating, better, more engaging frames is you got to practice and recognize it. Start putting your camera through any kind of open shapes like this and just, see what you can come up with. You'll start to realize that there's ways to frame your subject just about anywhere you go, and start with those more obvious ones. Start with the windows and the doors, and then you can move on to more abstract shapes and framing. Another thing I want to add about framing is when you use framing, it's a really cool way to separate 2 stories that may be happening in the same image. This is not the greatest example, but this is during getting ready at a wedding, and I used this post to split the image into 2 different parts, and essentially we have 2 micro stories happening in the same room, and I used the whole idea of framing to split that into 2 different frames in a single image. So the third technique that I want to talk about is reflections. Reflections can be found anywhere. Mirrors, of course, water, metal, glossy concrete. You can find different levels of reflection on a bunch of surfaces. Some are going to be more like blurry, just kind of blotchy color reflections, and some, in the case of a mirror, is going to be more of like a perfect reflection of your subject. And you can use reflections for different reasons. Some reflections can be just to add unique perspective to the image. Sometimes you can use a reflection to hide what you don't want to show in an image. And sometimes you can use reflections to layer multiple stories that are happening. So reflections can be so complicated. I think it's best to just show you a couple images and kind of go over my thought process for those. So this image was shot in the wintertime in Yosemite. If you notice that the couple kind of gets lost in the grass here, but if you look down at their reflection is shown up against the sky. So I was like, okay, what if I come down to this little beach right here and focus solely on their reflection? And this is what I got. They're actually standing up here. When I rotate the image, now they're right side up, and that is their reflection in the water. And we have them up in the sky, and then we've just got these weird, colors and textures and framing, and I think it's a very unique image, and it's an image that I really like. You may not like it that much. I don't care. Now, another image that I would like to talk about is this one. So I was just photographing what was happening, and this was actually just a full documentary happy accident moment. His sunglasses were super, super reflective, and they showed up really well in his sunglasses, and it was really cool because it's a cool way to tell that story, because he is laughing at them and they're laughing back at him. Because I'm facing in that direction, I can't actually see their faces, so you're getting both stories. You're getting them laughing and him laughing all in his face, basically. So that one's cool. I like that one. Now let's do another one. So this is a different form of reflecting. I am shooting into the hotel room from outside, and so I am getting some of the outdoor street and buildings reflected through the window, and then I'm lighting them up with flash on the inside so that I'm kind of getting like this almost what looks like a double exposure. This is just shooting into a mirror just to get kind of a more interesting perspective on what's happening. This is my last reflection example. I've got the bride right here finishing up her makeup, and then I'm using this handheld mirror to show this bridesmaid getting her hair done on the other side of the room. So layering two stories together with the use of a mirror. Those are my 3 techniques that I wanted to share with you. We got silhouettes, framing, and reflections. And what you'll start to notice is that these 3 techniques for more interesting photos tend to kind of show up together. Like this image, for example, the makeup artist is being silhouetted here, but then the window is also framing her. So we've got like double going on. We've got the framing and we've got the silhouette. Same thing right here. We've got the couple silhouetted, and the fact that I turned that rock orange to make them a silhouette, that is framing them at the same time as the silhouette. That was just a bonus 2 cents. Yeah, be on the lookout for the ability to, combine these techniques. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got something useful out of it. And, if you feel like it, I do have a free photography group on Facebook that I am in and like to answer your questions if you have any. So feel free to join that. I'll put the link in the description, and we'll see you in the next video.